Thank you very much. So, welcome to the Town of Rocky Mountain House. This is the Governance and Priorities Committee meeting for March 12th, 2024. I'll now call the meeting to order. The first order of business is the adoption of the agenda. And I would like to table number 7.1 that I put on the agenda to a later meeting. Go ahead, Councillor Phillips.
Yeah, if there's no further discussion on the agenda, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
Thank you very much. All in favor of that motion? And any opposed? And that's none, and that's carried. Thank you very much. So today we have a delegation that is of a sensitive subject matter, and so we will be moving into closed session. So I'm looking for a motion to go into closed session. Councillor Caprero?
I will make that motion.
Thank you very much. All in favor of that motion? And any opposed? And that's none, and that's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and welcome back to the Governance and Priorities Committee meeting for the Town of Rocky Mountain House for March 12th, 2024. We've just come out of closed session, and we're moving forward in the agenda. So our next item of business will be 4.1, the adoption of the Governance and Priorities Committee meeting minutes from February 13th of 2024. Does anybody have any questions or comments about those minutes? Seeing none, Councillor Chappelle.
So move those minutes be accepted as presented.
Thank you very much. All in favor of that motion? And that's no opposed, and that's carried. So moving forward, we're at 5 delegation business, and we don't need to go into closed session at this time, but we do have a motion. Councillor Phillips, did you want to present that motion?
Yes, thank you. I will make that motion. I'd like to make a motion that we accept item 5.2 as information.
3.2. 5.2 we're not going into.
Sorry, you're right, correction, yeah. Item 3.2, our closed session discussion for information.
Thank you very much, and thus not the need to go into 5.2. So if we have any questions or comments about that motion, seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. All in favor of that motion to accept for information, and that's carried, no opposed. So moving forward to old business, we have none. And then we go to new business, and we've tabled 7.1 to a future meeting. So we're now at 7.2, the RFD bylaw 2024/05 for waste management bylaw. And Mr.
Yep.
Kraus, are you
Yep.
presenting?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. So, as Council is aware, Council received a delegation some time ago about some clarifications on the waste bylaw, particularly organic waste through fish and construction debris. So, administration reviewed the bylaw and to try to clarify or provide greater clarity to that. So I think I'll just go through the bylaw with council. And then also in regards, it also brought up the issue of accessibility to organics. And I'll have Ms. Button speak on that because through our circular economy pilot project that we're involved in, there might be an opportunity to address that where organics isn't available for fourplexes and so forth, but we could allow that at the Eco Center or provide that service at the Eco Center, which would also resolve if someone doesn't want to put organics into their green bin, that it's going to cause a lot of order. They can just take it straight to the Eco Center. So I'll quickly run through the bylaw, and then Ms. Button can explain that proposed service. So going through the bylaw, administration also took the opportunity to update it since we moved from blue bags to blue carts. So if you go through it, where applicable, we put in recycle for totes throughout the bylaw. So just going to section 1.13. And this is one where the confusion was that the bylaw didn't allow wood to be put into your black tote. So it was just kind of clarified that's treated or painted, or for construction waste means treated or painted lumber or lumber containing nails, screws, or staples. So in other words, clean wood could go into your black tote is basically what we're saying.
The black tote?
Clean wood can be taken to the Eco Center,
Right.
divertible, no
Right,
cost
I
for
got
that.
that reversed, thank
Yes.
you.
But the treated, painted, containing nails, screws, and staples, if it fits in your black bin, it can go in your black bin, but large quantities is the construction and demolition that has to go to the landfill.
Thank you, Ms.
So if someone did a big project and had the back of their half-ton full of stuff, it's not accepted at the Eco Center, even if they pay for a half-a-ton truck, like, because I'm going to get asked this.
Yeah,
The back of their truck it's not accepted there, they have to drive out to the landfill?
That is correct.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification.
So going to section 3.10, where it previously said, no person shall deposit any dead animals or parts. It's just been clarified, wildlife or domestic animals. So basically, if you clean a fish, you still can put it into your organics, but you can't dispose of a whole animal.
Oh, sorry, Counselor Chappelle.
Thank you, Worship, Mr. Crowe. If I can just back this up to number 1.23, recycling service.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I just read that, and it says including pickups, and I was just confused when I read that statement, including pickups. I wasn't sure what that meant. I just was looking for clarity on 1.23. I'm just not,
Does that mean when somebody is hired to pick up your recycling and take it to the recycling bin? Because there's companies that'll do that, right?
I believe the intent there, Councillor Shipple, if I may, is when we're referring to recycling service throughout the bylaw as recycling service, we mean both the recycling diversion streams at the Eco Centre as well as the curbside collection of those recycle streams. Because there are some pieces that apply to both and some that would just apply to the curbside collection and just apply to what's at the Eco Centre. But when it's a clause that encompasses both of those services, that we will use the term recycling service to mean both of them, because it's just in the definitions, right?
Could we update including pickups to mean including curbside pickup?
I would like to spend some time with my colleague, Mr. Shanks, and the bylaw to make sure that I haven't led you astray on that one. But it's definitely can be considered, yes.
sorry,
Just for
the word.
clarification.
Exactly, the word pickups means a lot of things in my head, so I wasn't sure where that was going.
Yeah.
Could be pick up at the curb and a pickup you drive and you know, a whole bunch of things. So I just wasn't sure about that word is.
I'm sure it's curbside. We apologize, Mr. Shanks couldn't make it today, so, and he was,
Pinch hitting.
That's fine, because we just want clarification of
Absolutely.
the language in the bylaw.
That
right?
is very much our goal as well, Mayor, yes.
So I think that covers that. Mr. Kraus, did you want to continue forward? And I'm sorry, you were at 3 point something already?
yes, and then that was just the definition, clarifying animals versus animal parts. And then the next major change would be in 5.8. So it's just clarification, so building materials is struck out, so the small pieces of wood could still go, that are painted or with staples or nails, could still go into your tote. But demolition and construction waste would not go into your tote. And again,
On section 3, oh, that's the general. So I do have I have a question about that, because we have, no, it was not. I have down 5.8, but maybe I didn't read far enough. 5.8, is that where you're at already?
yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you're at 5.8, and you're, that's for just the green bin, yes? Waste / organics material collection and disposal?
so those are prohibitive in any of the totes.
Okay, so dead wildlife or domestic animals, so if someone's cat dies, or if someone's a hunter person and they skin a animal, and they can't put it in their black bin, and they can't put it in their green bin, and they can't take it to the eco center, where are they to take it to?
Which, like a dead cat?
Yeah. That's a
The
domestic animal,
animal.
right? So if
Yeah.
someone's cat dies and they can't put it in the black bin and they can't put it in the green bin, and they can't put it, they're not gonna put it in the blue bin, right? So that's, I have a note that, about dead animals, like, are they digging a hole in their backyard? Because I think that almost would be not great for, like, I mean, some people do that anyways, but I'm thinking we have a lot of people who go hunting and have pets, and if that pet should die, what do they do with it? Or if they went hunting and skin a deer?
Well, I would hope, I mean, there's options there. I think a cat could go to a vet to be incinerated.
So it was run over in front of the street, or it died in the night and it's in the house.
So they can take it to the landfill. I think
They would
take it-
drive it to the landfill?
Yeah. Do you have any?
I have nothing further to add on that, just with regards to hunting. I mean, often the gut piles are left in the woods where the animal's killed, and if they're skinning, it's because they're keeping that hide for a reason.
It's 40 below out, and I'm gonna go hang it in my garage until I get off work tomorrow night. Then I'm gonna skin it and finish doing whatever I need to do. So there's the head, the eyes, the whatever that I didn't leave in the bush.
So that would be a landfill.
So we're gonna ask people, so you don't think that's gonna either not be followed or cause a problem? If the neighbor's cat dies and it's in the middle of the street, I have to drive it, or it just sits there on the street, gets run over, doesn't get picked up and dealt with? It's not a problem, I'm just asking the question, like, is that what we're gonna tell our community of pet owners and hunter fishermen, that they can't put dead parts in the garbage can?
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I think for the second part of this topic, right now we're just talking about the wording on the actual,
Right.
the actual bylaw itself.
Right.
But when we're talking about the second option, or the second section, when we're having possible green bin at the eco center to allow for exactly what you're talking about, I think that's gonna be the next topic of conversation. I think right now we're just talking about the bylaw itself.
So I'm just trying to clarify the bylaw, right?
Mhm.
So somebody has a hamster, gerbil, cat, dog, dies in the middle of the night, to take it to wherever you're saying at the vet, that's a fee. We're already paying for garbage, it's already dead. It cannot go in the garbage can. Why can it not go in the garbage can if it's gonna go to the landfill anyways? Is that a question for a later response? But it's just like, if we put the black bins and it all goes to the landfill, why can't we put that stuff in the black bin in a bag and take it to the landfill with our garbage?
Mayor, I would have to look into that to see if that's
Okay.
prohibited under some provincial legislation or something, but.
Would you mind looking that
Yeah.
into, because, I mean, I understand not putting it in a green bin. Like, right, that's gonna be composted, right?
And the green bin list we have actually comes directly from the farm where we take it, so.
Right, absolutely, absolutely, but this is like 5 is garbage cans, right?
Yeah.
And I understand not putting like long pieces in, it'll get jammed in the machine, and of 2x4s and stuff, that makes total sense.
Dead animals is not a new addition to the bylaw, we're just clarifying the wildlife and domestic animals. So like Dean said, we'll have to take it back and see if there's some other reason why it was in there in the first place, because there maybe it's just beyond our knowledge at this time.
Yeah, I'm like, because there's other parts where it says, don't dump it in the ditch, right? Well, absolutely, but if you don't have a way for them to actually dispose of it, there's trees behind my house, you know, where people dump things all the time, because my son brings them home and he's very excited about finding tires and things like that. So, yeah, so
Just-
before we go on, Councillor Phillips?
Yes, just, on that point, I would think putting domestic animals and carcasses into your black bin would then attract wildlife that we don't want in town because of that smell and the odor that would attract that wildlife to that bin, which creates a whole other set of problems.
Yes, but if you bury it in your backyard, it's gonna be the same, it's gonna be a worse issue, right?
I would hope that we wouldn't encourage people to bury carcasses in their backyard.
Do you think that someone's gonna drive to the waste transfer site 20 minutes out of town to dump off their neighbor's dead cat that got run over on the road? They might.
And that was one of Mr. Brooks' concern of putting, you know, animal parts into a garbage bin that would attract wildlife, so.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
we're trying to
we're
address
not-
that too, so.
Yeah, absolutely, but we need some way for them to then dispose of stuff like that. Or they're gonna drive in the county and, you know, they're gonna leave it in the bush, like, you know, what's worse, right? Just a question, if you wanna find out more information and come back, I'm completely fine with that idea. So, Mr. Kraus, we're done 5.8 then. Do you want to keep moving forward?
And that, well, that pretty much covers the major changes that we still have to look at apparently, so, because 6.5 is basically the same thing, for, the eco center, where building materials are struck out, and dead animals or animal parts are struck out. So we'll have to check and verify that with council. So that's the major changes to the bylaw. Ms. Button can speak on providing organics at the eco center.
Thanks. So on your RFD, page 4 of 5, there is, where it makes mention, there's no recommended changes to Schedule B. This is the list that's provided by the facility that accepts our green bins. So we can't make changes to that. However, for council's information, we are looking at possibly a community green bin, like a dumpster, but this is for collecting organic materials only. For long-serving council members, you may remember this was the system in place in Canmore. That was more of a neighborhood-based thing. It was actually out in neighborhoods where people could carry their kitchen waste to it. We would look at having one of those animal-proof bins placed at the eco center. There are options for people who want to compost who don't currently have access to it, those in multifamily homes. With regards to backyard composters, obviously those aren't applicable for apartment buildings. Indoor composters can be costly, and then the third option is a community compost bin. So that's what I'm currently looking at with part of our pilot project with the Circular Cities. Economy, Rocky Mountain, Circular Cities, not economy. Circular Economy. Circular Cities is the organization developing a toolkit for small municipalities and rural municipalities to implement some circular economy principles. And so Rocky Mountain House is the pilot municipality as they put that together this year, and this is one of the avenues we're looking at. So council's already approved the $12,000 in the 2024 budget. With the goal of increasing organic diversion from our landfill. And so this could be an avenue that would meet both goals, one to divert the organics waste, and the other to also meet some of Mr. Brooks's concerns about the fish guts in his home compost. The one at the eco center, a little bit more removed for odor. And it would, there are some operational things that we would have to work through in terms of making sure that whatever bin we get is compatible with the trucks that are hauls, that they'd be willing to add this to their route. But it's something that we're exploring, and I hope that I have good news and outcomes for council to share later this calendar year.
I have a question for fourplexes. So on here, backyard composters, indoor composters, and a community bin at the eco center, but that's not in place at this time,
No,
correct?
no.
And so, a lot of fourplexes have space for all their bins, but they are not receiving that service right now because but they wouldn't have a backyard either, so, is there a service that we can suggest to those property owners of apartment buildings and the ones that fall in residential but outside of our regular program, where they could rent a green bin, similar to what you're saying is used in Canmore? Does our provider or program allow for that? Because then that would also do the next step of commercial waste,
Yeah,
right?
so multifamily homes are generally have a commercial waste contract. So I'm sure it exists, but because the town doesn't deal in commercial waste, I don't know of any to look into. But I can certainly ask through the Circular Cities Network what they've seen other municipalities and other multifamily complexes, be it fourplexes, townhomes, apartment buildings, if they've provided that service. I know that composting has been done for multifamily homes in other places and done well. I just don't know what those are yet because we've only just started on the Circular Cities pilot project for that circular economy toolkit.
Because I'm also thinking like restaurants would, you know, the list of things that Strickland Farms is allowed to accept. I mean, pulling that out of our circular economy of,
Yeah.
of waste, you know, like,
And you'll
would
know-
be advantageous. And it's not that far off from a resident building to a commercial food manufacturer.
Absolutely, and actually developing a commercial plan for organics diversion is part of council's strategic plan. And so I believe that's on the timeline for the next 12 to 18 months to develop a plan to implement, for council's consideration to implement a commercial organics program. But that's still a little ways off right now.
Okay, I see Councillor Phillips has a question.
Yes, just in regards to the Canmore model for organics, I know the reason why Canmore had to go with the community organics bins is because if they used bins in front of each one's houses, the bears would tip them over and eat the contents of those bins. So I'm definitely quite excited to see that we would be able to do this at the Eco Center, and that would alleviate Mr. Brooks' concerns about fish remnants and wildlife remnants. I think that would be a good solution to take care of this problem. to
I
have it at
do
the Eco
want to
Center.
raise, it's mentioned in here, but, I mean, it would be an option for people to use. They would have to be motivated to do it because it would be an added step to carry that waste. But those people who are asking for it are generally motivated anyway. And with the circular economy toolkit that I've got access to, I've got some resources at my disposal in terms of how to communicate that and get people excited about taking that step. And in this example, we have somebody who is asking for it, Mr. Brooks, right? And so it's worth exploring to meet some of our residents' requests and also council's strategic goal of increased organics waste diversion.
Can you also inquire about recycling for those industrial residential or commercial residential properties?
Okay.
You know, for like what services are available? I mean,
Sure.
Our guy picks them up, so could he be contracted to pick up a certain bin?
I mean, once again, I do think that would be between the commercial business and their contractor. But I
Okay.
do know when, back in 2018, when the town of Rocky Mountain House got out of commercial waste completely, we did have a list of service providers for businesses say, hey, we're out, but check out any one of these number of businesses. And I don't think we've ever done the same for recycling service since we implemented that for residents. So
Yeah.
it could be something that can be added to that
Because if
service.
we're
It
already
just-
using Strickland Farms and residential people are on board and keen, even if they live in a condo versus, you know, a home, they should still, you know, that would be something that they,
Sure.
you know, if we could solve, I mean,
But it wouldn't, because right now, commercial solid waste handling is not in the realm of a municipal service whatsoever.
yeah, but
But
if
if
we
we
could
can
find out
provide-
answers to questions, that would
Yeah.
help the community, right? Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions or comments on that? So, Mr. Kraus, with that question about 5.8 dead animals, did you want to bring it back? Should we do first reading and then adjust it before second and third reading? What?
No, well, this is GPC, so it'd be a rise and report, so, council can rise and report it to the next council meeting, and we'll have council's answer by then for consideration of first reading. I'm just
Okay.
looking at the disposal of dead animals regulation, because it's regulated by the province, so we'll just verify with that, and it looks like landfill is the option there, so, but we'll verify that for council.
But that's where our garbage goes, right? The black bins?
Yeah, but it's handled by, we'll bring back a report.
Okay. I'm just trying to clarify. That's awesome. I can wait for a report. So, would somebody like to make a motion? Counselor Phillips?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion that the Governance and Priorities Committee rise and report the draft waste management bylaw 2024/05 to the March 21st, 2024 regular council meeting for council's consideration.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions or comments on that motion that's on the table? Mr. Kraus, your light is on, but
No.
that's, okay. Just checking. So seeing none, I will call that to a vote. All in favor of that motion? And that, no opposed, and that's carried. So, moving forward in the agenda, we are at 7.3, the storefront improvement program policy. And I see Mr. Schrader and Jeff, I've completely lost your last name. Presenting, thank you so much. Hartling, Jeff Hartling, thank you, sorry.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm just before you today in regards to the Store Improvement Program Policy 003-2024. At our service level meeting in 2023, Council requested administration to relook at the existing policy 002-2012 to include all of the community instead of the downtown core, and also to raise the grant funding to $5,000 from $2,500. Also to include the $350 window wrap if that's something the council was interested in. So in regards to the policy itself, on page 38, we just more or less revamped it, included the new totals, also revamped the schedule application form as well as the agreement Schedule B in the policy to replace the existing one from the 002-2012. In the comments section on page 36.
So when you
Oh,
say page 36,
uh,
you're looking at the
very-
whole document?
Oh, it's the very bottom part.
We click open each individual, right?
So page 4 of
5, okay.
And that is, so I just want to be on the same page
Sure.
as you. So you're looking at the actual bylaw now?
Now, I'm looking at page 4 or 5, page 36 on the bottom of the document. I'm
So-
not sure if you guys have those.
Which document? Ours all open separate? On the RFD?
Oh, you guys all open separately.
Yeah, on the RFD.
RFD,
Sorry,
yeah.
I just,
Sorry about
we're all
that.
madly clicking to try and
Sure.
figure out what page 36 is. So you're on the
Okay.
RFD of
Page 4 or 5.
the storefront improvement program.
So since 2012, there's been 22 participating downtown area businesses that have accessed the funding. It's fairly simple as far as how it works. Owner or tenant submits an application to the town. Application includes facade drawings, certificate of title, landowner signature, and a cost estimate provided by a licensed contractor. Administration will review the application, meet on site with applicant, and make decision. Subject to legal agreement between the applicant and the town, applicant issued a check after construction completed and photo submitted. Program exclusions are listed there below. New construction, government buildings, residential property, churches, religious institutions, and improvements such as roofs, security systems, interior window coverings, equipment, and improvements that are not consistent with the town's architectural guidelines.
And on the yearly applicants, like there's 12 in about, or 22 in about 22 years. So is it limited to only so many applicants per year before?
Presently, we have budgeted $20,000 for this year's. So ideally, that'd be, depending what they ask for granting.
Right.
Whether it's maximum of $5,000 each, that'd be, of course, 4. But in the last 12 years, that's an average of 2 or 3 per year. Some years are a little busier than the other years. Ideally, if we do run out of the $20,000, I guess administration will be approaching council if we wanted to continue on with additional funding from the budget.
And so this is a grant, not like the CFIP, right?
Correct, I guess, yeah, it's a grant from the town,
It's
yeah.
a gift,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
just to clarify,
Yeah.
if we don't, they don't have to pay it back.
So ideally with this policy, it's mainly for non-residential throughout the whole community. That's the main change in this policy. We limited to either street on either side of the street on Main Street. This one is going to the industrial area, highway, commercial, and those types of areas.
We could back sooner than later for additional funding, being townwide.
Yeah.
Oh, could be back sooner than later with this townwide initiative and with that budget.
So any additional questions in regards to the policy?
I see Councillor Phillips does.
No other questions. I do like this banner portion that's inserted in there. I think that's a good way to spruce up some of the buildings that have been vacant for quite some time. I do like that addition in there.
Okay, I don't see any other questions or comments from anybody. So thank you so much for your work on this. I think this is a great program for our community, and I hope businesses that haven't been able to access this in the past will take advantage of it. And breaking out to the rest of the community, it just, you know, spruces up your building, and if you can get a little bit of help to do that, it just makes the whole community shine. Councillor Chappelle.
For those that were at the Chamber Awards Banquet, we heard the gentleman there say a little bit of paint goes a long ways to make it look good. So with that, I'd like to make the motion, please. Be resolved, the council rise and report the storefront improvement program policy number 003/2024 to the next council meeting scheduled for March 21st, 2024 with the following, well, there is no amendment, so, period.
Thank you very much, Councillor Chappelle. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that motion? And seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. All in favor of that motion? And those opposed? And that's none, and that's carried. Thank you very much. So, now's about the right time to take a brief 10-minute recess. So I will take a brief 10-minute recess. Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome back. Thank you very much. Welcome back to the Town of Rocky Mountain House Governance and Priorities Committee meeting for March 12th, 2024. Moving forward in our agenda, we are on the RFD for the Ambassador Program Policy 7.4.
Thank
So,
you, Your
gentlemen.
Worship. I'm here today to present the Ambassador Program Policy 004-2024. At the June 20th, 2023 council meeting, there was an administrative inquiry regarding the parade float, but then it kind of led into an ambassador program. So we discussed that at the service level in 2023, and I'm bringing forward an ambassador program policy today. So as far as the ambassador program policy, fairly basic, simple policy in regards to trying to get volunteers to help promote our community, either outside our community or within our community. That would be doing parades, as well as possibly volunteering at Market on Main or local events, promoting and handing out visitors guides to people that are inquiring about our community and area. So in regards to the financial side of it, we did budget $4,500 in this year's budget to help offset some of the expenses that if we do decide to proceed with this ambassador program policy, that would cover expenses for ambassador attire, but also expenses that are incurred if they are out of our community promoting Rocky Mountain House. Some of the comment in the comment section, FCSS Department presently has a volunteer program where they match volunteers with organizations requiring volunteers for events or projects. We might be able to access those volunteers to help with our ambassador program. Also, the ambassador program could possibly use volunteers that the Community Events Committee are able to recruit for their events projects. The concept of the ambassador program could also be incorporated within the Community Events Bylaw 2024-02. There are some alternatives and recommended alternative. Any questions regarding the policy?
I don't see any at this point.
Oh. Okay.
Did you want to go over the policy? That was the
Uh,
RFD.
Sure, we could, yeah. It's fairly simple. The purpose of this policy is to create a program where volunteer residents of the Rocky Mountain House and area would be willing to help promote the community within and outside the town's boundaries to others. Volunteer involvement is fundamental to a healthy and democratic society. It promotes civic engagement and active participation in shaping the society we want. It encourages everyone to play a role and contribute to the quality of life in communities. Guidelines, definition of an ambassador, giving unpaid help to support a community event, campaign, or project. Responsibility of the ambassador will be asked to attend parades with a town promotional vehicle to promote the community. Ambassadors would promote the community and provide information to visitors and residents at community events. Volunteers make a commitment and are accountable to the organization. Volunteers will act with respect for the cause, the stakeholders, the organization, and the community. Volunteers carry out their involvement responsibly and with integrity. Events would be predetermined by administration for guidance on which ones to attend. Ambassadors would be given appropriate attire to wear at these events. Expenses would be covered for meals as per the town's travel and expenses policy 014-2023 if the event is out of town and area. There would be no per diem for volunteers.
And so I had a question if this person, it doesn't say about their driving capabilities. They have to do a driver's check if they were driving the town vehicle to parades
I do believe we asked for a driver's abstract to use the town vehicle.
in the application form.
Well, we would, once the application form is developed, and if that's what they want to do, yeah, we would ask for a driver's abstract if that's what they wanted to do on that. If they wanted to volunteer for parades, then we would ask for a driver's abstract.
So should it be listed in the policy under somewhere or no?
We could include it there, or we can include it on the application form.
And also, just because someone has a valid driver's license doesn't mean our insurance policy would really necessarily like them driving the vehicle. Would it also be part of our, that's maybe a Mr. Kraus
Yeah,
question.
so your worship, we do have another policy that anyone driving a town vehicle is required to submit a driver's abstract, so it's covered under that policy. Under our insurance policy, volunteers are covered under our insurance policy for vehicles and so forth.
Okay, okay, perfect. So that was just my normal questions about volunteers and driving and. Does anyone have any questions or comments about this program? Counselor Phillips?
I just think this is a really good program. We have some, really good volunteers in our community that are passionate about the town and passionate about how things go and have a wealth of knowledge and expertise. And I think this program can help put those people into some good spots for us and do some great PR.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess that there doesn't seem to be any questions about the policy. I guess I'm looking for a motion for 7.4. Counselor Phillips.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that council rise and report the ambassador program policy 004/2024 to the next council meeting scheduled for March 21st, 2024.
That will March 21st. It's getting filled right up today. I don't see any other questions or comments about the motion on the table. And so I'll call that to a vote. All in favor of that motion? And opposed, and that's carried. Thank you very much. So moving forward in the agenda, we're at the RFD for 7.5, Tourism Improvement Fee Policy. And I believe you'll be presenting again, so you may proceed. Thank you.
So overview is part of the council strategic plan for 2022 to 2026, I believe, or 2023, is a destination marketing fund. A little history on this is we've have approached previous council or previous hoteliers in the past, and there's been no buy-in. But at that same time, we haven't had a policy created as well to have a little meat and potatoes behind the program. So we're hoping with the policy in place and the agreement in place, our EDO will go out and talk to the hoteliers in regards to the program and see if we can get some buy-in from the local hoteliers to join the program and see the benefit of the program for the community. The whole idea is to raise dollars to help pay for marketing and promotion of the community. And for those partners that participate in the tourism levy, they benefit as well from having additional promotion where they'll get the heads on beds, I guess is what you call it. So that's more or less what the whole gist of the tourism levy policy is. I didn't assign a number because I wasn't sure. Like I said, I'm going to send the EDO out to talk to the hoteliers to see if there can be buy-in now. And if there is buy-in, then we'll bring it back. We'll bring the results back to council in regards to whether the hoteliers are willing to participate in the program.
And so some communities just pass it as a bylaw. This would just be like a policy, or
Policy,
you,
yeah.
a policy of collecting tourism dollars to promote the community?
That's correct. And I think once they sign the agreement, that they're more or less, they've committed to the cause in regards to the tourism levy.
And so if for some reason someone does not participate, is that up to the individual business owner at this point?
That is correct, yeah. It's all voluntary.
And will this include any of the Airbnb type accommodations that may be available in our community?
Well, presently, there's a tourism levy by the Alberta government that's, you have to have 4 beds or 4 rooms that you rent out. Whether that falls under the Airbnb, whether that's considered 1 unit or 4 units, to say if there's 4 bedrooms, that I'm not sure about. But we're not really approaching the Airbnbs just yet. We're gonna concentrate on the hoteliers, mass and numbers as far as larger hoteliers to help create the fund. I know there's a checklist as far as whether tourism levy would work within your community. And ideally, you gotta have buy-in from your local, but also, is there enough beds or enough hotel rooms to make the program beneficial as far as funding?
So this is sort of just like a plan to move forward, and you don't have like any numbers, or this is just like a plan to move forward?
Yeah, presently, right now, we're just gonna get council's approval, I guess, to approach the hoteliers to see if they're interested in the program, and then we'll come back with numbers as far as hoteliers willing to participate within the program.
Okay. Counselor Chappelle.
I think it's overdue. We typically see it on our hotel fees no matter where we go. The tourism improvement fee return form that's on there, I think asks too many questions. I think we're getting too deep into the business's operation when it starts talking about the number of rooms rented. Somehow I think that form needs to be tightened up, because I think what'll happen is participation could be limited because you want to know too much about my business. So I think somehow that form needs to be tidied up. The other thing is the fee that we're giving them back, the 5%. In this documentation, it's annually. I think that should be taken off monthly. I mean, they're collecting the money, they should be paid for it on a monthly basis for their sweat equity, not on an annual basis as this form is. So I think just to tidy that part up, to make it a monthly deduction off of whatever they pay versus an annual deduction. If the business ever changes hands or anything like that, doing it annually then becomes a bit of a problem, whereas if you do it monthly, you can tidy that up. Go ahead.
I was just gonna comment, and I'm not sure if annually makes it easier for administration to tabulate, or, like I said, I'm unaware how much work is involved with either doing it monthly or annually, but that's something we can look at.
Yeah. And have you talked to other communities about how, like what fees and how it works or anything like that?
Well, we've actually, this document came from another community within Alberta, so, we're not reinventing the wheel by any means.
Okay.
But as far as the legwork involved, we'll do that as we go along in regards to what the buy-in is from the hoteliers.
Okay. Counselor Chappelle.
The other night at the banquet, we heard the chamber people, there's a group of people who put on Discover Rocky, or talked about Discover Rocky. And that Discover Rocky, I think, is gonna be a plus for our community, because it's about Rocky, not a million miles around Rocky. It's specific. I think it'd be neat to talk to them, and this would be they may be the kind of people who would derive funds for operational purposes from this kind of a levy. So I guess my question is, would we talk to them and try to get them as a buy-in, so when we go to sell this to operators, that we have a buy-in of a vehicle in place already to help sell their business?
Well, ideally, I think we'll look towards Discover Rocky to help with our ECDEV tourism strategy as well, to give us some guidance as far as what path we should be going down. As far as an extra vehicle, possibly we can approach them once I think we could get it in line. I think Jeff needs to go and talk to him one-on-one first, and then we can maybe get Discover Rocky to help us promote it.
Do you think one of the first steps could be to invite them, to all the hoteliers, to a Discover Rocky presentation? Because I've been at a couple and I don't know what their participation has been so far. Is that something maybe, because once they get, on the right path, then Jeff's job becomes, more straightforward, or it's a good partnership, right?
I look at it two ways. You maybe confuse them, or if Jeff goes out and just talks to him one-on-one, I think it's more personable. We've tried not saying without Discover Rocky being there, but we've tried bringing all the hoteliers into one room. It doesn't work. So that's why we're doing it individually moving forward. So I'm thinking Discover Rocky is going to be a definite component of moving forward. But I think at this program here, I think we should let us just contact the hoteliers directly and work with them just regarding the program first.
Okay, I don't see, did you have a follow-up?
I just want to know about the rate that we're charging, and if that was sort of other municipalities or communities that are doing it.
Right.
Is that the norm? Or is that, or is that the average, or what is the high and what is the low, where are they all at?
The 3% is usually the middle of the road as far as the rate. And I guess we could, it's up to, I guess, the hoteliers as well. You know, as far as the agreement, we're suggesting 3%, but they may push back and say, we want 4% or we may want 2%. You know, we're gonna listen to what they have to say as well, so.
It would be nice to know that information before Jeff goes out. If he could have a list of, these are all the communities in Alberta, this is what they're already charging. It might be an easier sell, because if I was a business owner, that would be the, like, what other communities do it? How much do they pay? And if we were, especially if we fall in below, you know, or something. I think that is a pertinent piece of information to have gathered before you head out.
A lot of the communities that are engaged with the Destination Management Fund, they have a destination management organization. So they're, as a group, kind of like what Discover Rocky is forming, that helps, you know, bring it together and really is instrumental with the marketing side of things and engaging the operators out there on various levels. So this is just, you know, one step forward towards potentially having a destination organization at a larger scale and helping, you know, market and promote and collaborate in all the great things that we have to offer here.
That sounds great. Counselor Phillips.
I like this initiative. It's hard pressed now to go to any hotel that I've ever stayed at that doesn't have this on their statements, yes. And yes, we need having a DMO would be very advantageous for our region. Any of the Travel Alberta seminars that we've talked about, having a DMO is a very important thing. And I think this would be a good step in getting funds together to allow us to have a DMO to market our area. So I am definitely in favor of this.
Okay, so I don't see any further questions from anyone. So would we like to, Counselor Shipwell, would you like to make a motion at this time?
Your worship, if you allow me to make the motion, please. Let it be resolved that council directs administration to introduce this draft policy and discuss with local accommodation providers if they are willing to participate in this tourism and improvement fee program. Administration will present the results of the discussions at a future council meeting.
Thank you very much. If there's no questions or comments on that motion, and seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. All in favor of that motion, and any opposed, and that's carried. So thank you very much for the information. Moving forward on to the next agenda item. It's 7.6. We have an RFD for the Rural Renewal Stream program. And I feel this is very important for our community because access to employees sometimes is a make or break for a business. And if you go on, there's a lot looking right now, and anything we can do to support our businesses, I think is great. So go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. I'll just give you a little history. In the summer of 2023, I think we were aware of the Rural Renewal Stream. We had a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce on September 8th, and we discussed that, and we kind of asked them to do a quick survey as far as what the demand was for this program. The results were presented to us, I think, at the service level review meeting in 2023. Council gave us direction to include our own survey in our business licenses. that we sent out on January 5th. We did start our survey, I think, December 29th and ran until February 13th. We sent it out to 575 businesses. We got roughly 18 responses, 12 that wanted to participate in the program, and 9 that could provide the full complement of accommodations and that type of support. With this program, there was 12 responses, 41 jobs available that they needed to fill. Wide range from front counter to cooks to a mechanic for a shop here in town. So there is a little bit of work that Jeff has been doing in gathering up information, application forms. We've talked to other communities in regards to the process. We have to apply to get certified from the Alberta government. A lot of unknowns, but like I said, Jeff's been talking to other communities as far as the process. We have to sign off for immigration more or less when people want to come to the community. We work with local businesses to create jobs, or not create jobs, but to promote jobs within the community. We did reach out to other communities as far as what the program was like for their municipality, and they came back saying it's a lot of work for the individual that manages the program. Some have started the program and then have backed off in regards to doing the rural renewal stream just because of the workload. But it's one of those things where we're uncertain right now until we actually do it ourselves. But
And some of that is on the upstart of the program. When I talked to the mayor of a neighboring community, they said there was like a bundle of work at the onset, but then it, for hours and staffing time, and then it seemed to level off. Does that sound like an accurate assessment?
sure, yeah,
Okay.
I guess depends which community you talk to. Depends how busy the community is as well. If it's a community that has a lot of opportunities for employment, of course, that individual would be that much busier than one that's gets an application once every week type thing. So I think it's based on the amount of applications the intake person receives.
Councillor Chappelle?
So reading through this, I was under the impression it was 0.5 a position somehow. I think I heard that someplace along the line. Reading your report, it's a full-time position. So my question is, what happens if we do a 0.5 position and just cap it? There's only so much that person can do in 0.5, and so people come in and all of a sudden they go on the wait list and get dealt with when they can get dealt with. At least then we introduce a program. My second comment is, having talked to some of the county people who originally sounded like a hard no, that may not be such a hard no. If they understand maybe more so what the program is, and if we tried to go with a 0.5 position versus a full-time position, they're more likely to buy into it. So I think that the program is worth the energy it's going to take. I don't think this is a new position that we don't have in our budget for monies, I don't believe. So let's go into it gently, see what happens, and see what the pickup rate, take-up rate is. So that's where I'd be leaning, is to a 0.5 position versus a full-time position, and seeing where that washes.
Yeah, my feedback is similar. I think I asked a few county councillors just for feedback of why they didn't feel this program was a good fit, and some of them don't even understand what the program is all about, and didn't remember the discussion that they had and things like that. So, I mean, maybe there's opportunity in the future to partner up with them or a recess, but I like the idea of doing a 0.5 position. I know there are some businesses desperate, and I've taken a few calls that I've had to pass on to other areas for assistance. And so it would be, it's needed in our community for sure, something to help, there are businesses that are already using immigrants for their businesses, then they need those people, and if we can support that, it supports a business that's already happening in our community. Councillor Phillips.
Thank you. So my first real eye-opening event for the rural renewal stream was when I was at a franchise fair with Mr. Hartling last fall. And pretty much every person that came to our booth, the first question they asked is, do you have the rural renewal stream program? If you don't have this program, we're going to look at a community that does. So to me, you know, we talk about pillars that we need to make our business community strong. We need land. We need to make the economic situation the best we can for these businesses. We need to set up the environment so they're successful. One of the environments that we need to look at and do is staffing, because staffing in not just the province of Alberta or the town of Rocky Mountain House or Canada, staffing is a problem everywhere right now. And if we want to do something that's going to truly set ourselves apart from other communities, we need to look at this program, and I think a 0.5 is a good place to start and see how it goes initially. But I do think this program will set us apart from other communities, because we want to have every one of our pillars to make a good foundation so that we have a strong business community. So I definitely think a 0.5 position to bring this program in and help our businesses get staff, because we know staffing is very hard to come by right now. I'm definitely in favor of this.
Thank you. I think it would be like a soft sell. You wouldn't have specific data, but the overall reception would be a huge positive impact and benefit that you couldn't necessarily convert to dollars or taxes or development, you know, permits, but it would be very beneficial for businesses in our community. So do we have any further questions or comments? Councillor Hutchinson.
Thank you. I have a few concerns. I would like to hear more from the municipalities that have started the program and then stopped the program, and reasoning behind that. I have concerns with housing. If we're bringing in more people, you know, we're already struggling with vacant, affordable housing in the town. I think I would like to see more information, and my thoughts first went to, is this something to go to service level, as it is going to be an expense to the town that hasn't been budgeted at this time?
Did you have any feedback you wanted to give Councillor Hutchinson at this time about her concerns?
If I may. Yes, regarding other communities, there are those who are benefiting from the program, and they have the labor in place to be able to assist with that, and helping the small businesses with, you know, the housing needs, and, you know, getting them settled into the community, and all those other warm fuzzy things that help, you know, immigrate the new candidate into the, you know, whatever community they're being brought into. Housing is a concern out there, yes, with other communities. Here, I don't have the exact data for affordable housing, but I do know it's a concern. To what degree, I don't have the answer to that. And I do know of a story with one business in town here that they had bought a house, a 4-bedroom house, and they brought in some immigrants from different parts of the world, and they have them housed in a facility of that sort. I think it's even a half a duplex with 4 bedrooms, so it makes it affordable. And it seems to be working well. That's one example. And there's communities that have been in the program that bowed out just because of the amount of work involved with the program, and not being able to keep everything in balance with the rest of their responsibilities at the EDO's level.
So in some of those cases, they might not have added on extra staff, like we're suggesting to do a 0.5. They might have tried to do it under the existing umbrella. Do you feel that would be an accurate assessment?
It's pretty near accurate.
Okay, does that, did you have a follow-up question for that information, Councillor Hutchinson?
Thank you. I just question whether a .5 is going to do the job, and if it's not going to be a full-time staff member. And again, where does that come up in the budget, or the already set budget for this year?
Counselor Chappelle.
And I appreciate that question. I think that question should be to Mr. Kraus, if you would allow me, Your Worship. Where do we find the money if we did go .5 in a position like this? We're partway into the year. Is there any monies available?
Yeah, so thank you, Your Worship. So if council goes down this path, we'd have to bring it back to council for a budget adjustment. Instead of affecting tax rate, for this year, we would probably request the money be just transferred back out of reserve into the operating budget. Because we're already 3 months into the year. By the time we hire, we're almost halfway through the year, or 5 months into the year, if council approves it shortly. So you know, instead of full .5, it'd be less dollars for this year. Then for next year, then it just goes into the budget cycle for council to consider. There's more logistics to that. I mean, it's just not salary. We have to give this person a workstation and computer and space, which we're really short of. But we would have to combine all that and bring it back to council for full dollar value for 2024.
Thank you very much for answering that question. Did we have any further follow-ups? Oh, because I see Counselor Ald has his light on.
Yes, thank you. Along the lines of Councillor Hutchinson, Rocky is, our available rental is next to nothing, and what is available, we are in the top high percentage of affordability. People can't afford to even rent here, let alone buy a house here. So I'm concerned about where, if we go down this road, where we're gonna put the people. They're not gonna be able to afford to rent a duplex or a townhouse here. And again, the budget money, I would be a little more comfortable if we brought it back to service level and actually put it in the 2025 budget to try and look at a .5 position to help that. But I'm concerned, it's all fine and good if we have this program, but if we have nowhere to put the people when they come here, we're not doing ourselves any favors. So I don't think it's just a simple pass this policy and find out where they're gonna go after they get here. I think we need to have a little more resources behind us before we go down this road.
I think, I will definitely give Counselor Chappelle an opportunity to answer that, but I would like to answer that. We've been asked by businesses that already exist, for existing people that already live in our community that are looking for some of these services to help with their AAIP for permanent residency. It gives them another avenue to ensure that the staff that they already have hired, that they already need, that they're already housing in our community are able to stay with that company for an extended period of time. And it also opens up things like we're short at the hospital, and they also have problems with their permanent residency issues. And I just feel that housing, there's people already in our community, and if we're not going to grow and move forward because we don't have housing, maybe we should look at housing instead of this policy. Maybe our concern should be, why do we have high rental rates, and how can we encourage development to provide housing rather than not go forward with a program that's really going to support our community? Maybe we need to do this and a housing program moving forward, rather than just looking at the negatives and the scary bits. But we want to move forward. We want to grow our community. We want to support our businesses. And I think we have the right people on board that can coordinate it. If we can do some juggling, if we can do a little test run before we hit 2025. This is a program that's been out for an extended period of time that we talked about, but we had missed some of the intake, and it changed a little bit from a year ago at this time. So that's my opinion. Councillor Chappelle, did you want to follow that up?
So the question was, businesses are prepared to find accommodation for people we bring in. In the survey, there was a number of them who would do that. And I know that the phone calls that I get where people one trucking company in particular was looking for a place to house two people who they were bringing in from another country. And so they were the ones who were taking the lead on it, wasn't the actual people. And I think that they found places for them. I think if there's a need, in my past life, we brought in several people, 12, and housed them all. And it was, between survival and being in existence as a business where you need a lot of employees. So I think often that the onus falls back on the employer to do that, and they're prepared for that because they're desperate for people. I think 0.5 is a good starting place. I think we should go back to administration and see if we can find those funds and how much the startup would be, and if we got a place to house that person. If the answer is no to any one of those, then that draws an answer in a hurry. So I think we let administration look at it and come back to us.
Thank you very much. So at this point, I don't see any further questions or comments, and so I think I'm looking for a motion to move forward. Councillor Chappelle or Councillor Phillips, did you want to make a motion at this time?
Okay. Yes, I'd like to make a motion that council proceeds with the Rural Renewal Stream Program and directs administration to bring back more information on additional staffing and setup costs required for this program to proceed.
Thank you very much for your motion. If there's any questions or comments about the motion that's on the table, seeing none, so I'll call that to a vote. All in favor of the motion? And those opposed? And so that's carried. I'm sorry, can we have that again? Those for the motion? Yeah, sorry, I don't usually get opposed. So, and those opposed, and so yes, that was carried. Thank you very much for redoing that for me for clarity. So moving forward in the agenda, we're at 8.1, correspondence for action. AB Munis 2024, that's happening in September, is looking for a call for resolutions. So I'm just opening my page. Mr. Kraus, did you want to take that lead, or I have Councillor Phillips ready?
Yes, so, they're just putting a call out for resolutions for the fall AB Munis conference, and there is something that I would like to have council's consideration on for resolution that the town of Rocky Mountain House can bring forward to AB Munis in the fall, and that being around code of conducts. This is something that, the province mandated that everyone has to have a code of conduct by law. Every municipality, whether it's rural or urban, has that. And for me, I would like to advocate AB Munis to advocate to have some sort of mechanism in place that when a code of conduct issue does arise, that it's taken away from the councils to police themselves. And there's some body, I'm not sure how this mechanism would work, but maybe AB Munis and RMA and the provincial government can put something together to have these code of conduct issues dealt with so that the councils aren't at odds amongst themselves to deal with them. So that is what I would like to see put forth as a resolution to AB Munis, that we advocate AB Munis to put forth some mechanism to deal with code of conduct complaints.
I think that's a great resolution to start with. One of our neighboring communities suggested there should be an ombudsman kind of a program that supports the municipalities for these type of issues. And so, if they could assign an ombudsman right now, if you have these issues, municipal affairs doesn't want anything to do with it, but they made us make the policy, and then they don't have any supports for the policy that they've created. And so I agree that should be something that gets resolved provincially. So is there any other policies or programs that anyone would like to see brought forward at Alberta municipalities? I think one is fine. It's a bit of work to do that. So would you be prepared to make a motion? Or Councillor Phillips, or, sorry, yeah.
No, I would be happy to make a motion that council direct administration to prepare a draft resolution for AB Muni's fall convention in regards to code of conducts and how we can advocate to have a ombudsman or governing body put in place to deal with those
Yeah.
and brought back to, how long would you need for that, Mr. Kraus?
When is the deadline that we need to do
I
this
think
for?
May 31st is the deadline, so the April GPC for council to review and consider the resolution, if that works for council.
I think that gives us an opportunity to also to reach out at RMA for a partner for this, and then we would have that at that April meeting. Do you
Okay.
think, Councillor Phillips, that we
Yep.
could find someone by then?
So the April GPC meeting.
So with the motion on the table then, with the date set for the upcoming meeting where it would be discussed, is there any questions on the motion on the table? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. All in favor of that motion? And any opposed? And that's carried. Thank you very much. So correspondence for information, 9.1 to 9.6, is there anything that anyone would like to discuss at this time? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to accept for information the correspondence for information 9.1 to 9.6. Any questions or comments on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. All in favor of the motion? And any opposed? And that's carried.
I'm sorry, your worship, it's after the fact.
Yes, that's fine.
In the regional fire report, they refer to unit number 207, 306, or whatever, at the beginning of the report. I'm wondering if either A, they can identify what that is, include a picture of that or whatever, because it says we're replacing this unit, and I have no idea what they're replacing. So when you read that report, I don't know if we can,
We do have that information when you go, when ICC meets, they give you a big chart with descriptions of each of those things that maybe we just need that given to all of council members. Right, Mr. Kraus?
Yeah, they do identify it in their capital budget. Which unit are you specifically talking about?
well, they had like 4 or 5 units posted
Okay.
at the top, they had numbers, and
So-
those numbers mean nothing to me, and so I'm reading that, I go like,
So if it's a 600 unit, that's in the Rocky Station, and it's a unit that we're contributing to. What they have on order is the aerial, which is expected in May, and I'm trying to think what the other unit is. I can't remember if it's a tender. Tender, I believe, so water truck. So these were ordered almost 2 years ago.
The chart that we get and the capital plan, could we get a copy of that emailed to Councillor Chappelle so he can cross-reference the information that he's been given? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. That solve your question?
thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for allowing me to shoehorn that question in.
I should have gave more time to consideration, but it's been a long meeting so far. So, going forward in the agenda, 10.1, the mayor's activity and committee report of March 12th, 2024. Does anybody have any questions or concerns with that report? And if not, I'm looking for a motion to accept for information. Deputy Mayor Caprero.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to accept 10.1 Mayor Bates' report as information.
Thank you very much. So if there's no questions or comments on that motion, I'll call that to a vote. All in favor of that motion? And sorry, Councillor Shipple, that was affirmative and no opposed, and so that's carried. It's a long word sentence I have to get out before we can actually vote. Okay, so moving forward in the agenda, we're at 10.2. Councillor Auld report. Does anybody have any questions or comments about Councillor Auld's report? Councillor Comprero's report. Questions or comments? Seeing none. Councillor Hutchinson's report. Seeing none, Counselor Chappelle's report. Seeing none, sorry, Counselor Phillips, I did that in the wrong order. Counselor Phillips' report.
Just one highlight, I'm on the Parkland Regional Library Board, and I'm also on the executive of the Parkland Regional Library Board. And it will be coming to the next board meeting that they want to discuss the municipal agreement that Parkland has with all the surrounding municipalities. This was initially brought up about population numbers, about which population numbers are being used for the requisitions. And the topic has kind of morphed into not just looking at population numbers, but if they're gonna do that and try and reopen an agreement, to relook at the whole agreement in general and make revisions because it's an old agreement. So that may be something that comes back in the next, well, probably be at least a year or so, but it's something that's being looked at from a Parkland Regional Library point of view.
What is the date on that agreement?
I believe it's from 1996, if memory serves. It's an old agreement.
There's old and then there's really old.
Yeah. But it's, rather than looking at it for just one item, it's gonna be looked at as a holistic, look at the entire agreement.
And so I'll just acknowledge that Counselor Musker, he was new to council, and so he wasn't required to do a report at this point. It's not that it's missing, it's just that he's just new and he didn't have to be required to do one yet. So, and welcome aboard again. If there's no questions or comments to any of the reports, I'd like to make a motion at this time to accept for information all of the council activity and committee reports for March 2024. And I'll call that to a vote. All in favor of that motion? And any opposed? And that's carried. Thank you very much. So moving forward in the agenda, we're at administration reports, department reports for March 12th, 2024. And Mr. Kraus.
Yep, no, Mayor, they're here for council's information.
Okay.
And then if council has any questions, I'll try to answer them for them.
See no questions or comments at this time. Councillor Schiffels, I'm giving you an extra moment. So I'm now I'll make the motion that we accept administration reports for March 12th, 2024 for information. If there's no questions or comments on that motion, I'll call that to a vote. All in favor of that motion? And any opposed? And that's carried. So moving forward in the agenda, we have an action list for 12.1. Mr. Kraus.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the only outstanding item on the action list is that administration contact Class A lot landowners to see what the town can do in helping developing land. Mr. Schwader has met several of them right now, but we haven't put the report together. So just even though due in March, we'll get that together for council for the next GPC.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions about that action item? So I'll make a motion at this time then, if there's no further questions or comments, to accept for information the action list for March 12th, 2024. Seeing no questions or comments, I'll call that to a vote at this time. All in favor of that motion? And any opposed? And seeing none, and that's carried. And so today we have, do we have any notices of motion? Seeing none, I'll move forward. We have no closed session, and that seems to conclude our business for today. So I will